Hi everyone and welcome back. Today we will go on speaking about reported speech. In this lesson, we will learn how to convert reported questions, orders, requests to indirect speech, and we will have some practice activity. So let's revise what is a reported speech. So here is one definition. Reported speech is when we tell someone what another person said. To do this, we can use direct speech or indirect speech. Մենք ուրիշի ուղղակի խոսքը օգտագործում ենք այն ժամանակ, երբ ցանկանում ենք որևէ մեկի խոսքը հասցնել մեկ այլ երրորդ հասցեատիրոջ. So, let's discuss a situation. Speaker A expresses an idea like this. Have you been to Armenia? It's a question, as you can see. And speaker B converts the same idea and says the same information to speaker C. And in this case, it will look like this. She asked me if I had been to Armenia. As we can see, the content, the meaning of the sentence is the same, but there are some structural differences. And these structural differences are just to show that the speaker B expresses not his own ideas, but the ideas of speaker A. Now let's go on and have more details about this thing. So, as we remember from the previous lesson, we frequently use the verbs to say and tell in the reported speech. In the cases of requests, orders, and questions, we use the following words. Here they are: tell, order, ask, request, beg, advise, warn, encourage, invite, command, suggest, offer. Սրանք այն բայերն են, որոնք մենք հաճախ կարող ենք ներմուծել ուրիշի ուղղակի խոսքում. Let's discuss some examples. He said, "Where is the museum?" He asked where the museum was. As the speaker is asking for something, we use the verb asked in this case. One more example. "Please don't go alone," said his friend. His friend begged him not to go alone. Taking into consideration the meaning of the sentence, we choose an appropriate verb. In this case, we have chosen the word begged because his friend was asking so much someone to do something. Another example. "Don't walk in this street, children," the police officer said. The police officer warned the children not to walk in that street. We have chosen the verb warn because the speech of the police officer sounds more like a command, a warning. That's why we have chosen it. And the same way we use the other verbs, paying attention to the meaning of the sentence. Let's go on. The general questions. We remember that general questions are the one which require yes or no answers. As we can see, this is a general question. So, my mom asked if I wanted tea. As you can see, the two parts, main parts of this sentence are connected with the help of if or whether. In this case, we have if. One more example. "Are you leaving now?" I asked her. I asked her whether she was leaving then. So, as we can see, to use whether is also possible. Ուրիշի ուղղակի խոսքը անուղղակի փոխակերպելիս պետք է ներմուծենք հետևյալ շաղկապը if կամ whether. Սա վերաբերվում է ընդհանուր հարցերին. Let's go on to see more points. So, those questions which begin with modal verb should be converted with the same principle as we did in the case of general questions. Let's discuss the examples. "May I borrow your book?" my teacher asked me. My teacher asked me if she might borrow my book. As you can see, the sentence begins with a modal verb, and we have connected the two main parts of the sentence with the help of if. One more example. "Can you play the piano?" I asked her. I asked her if she could play the piano. Again, the sentence begins with the modal verb can, and we connect the two parts with the help of connective if. We can also use whether. Let's go on. Reported special questions. We remember that we also call these sentences, these questions as WH questions. So this is how we convert them. "What's for dinner?" she said. She asked me what was for dinner. In this case, we do not need to use the connective if or whether. One more example. "How much is the rent on your flat?" he said. He asked me how much the rent on my flat was. Սրանք հատուկ հարցերն էին, որոնք մենք փոխակերպեցինք ուղղակիից անուղղակի։ Ուշադրություն դարձրեք կառուցվածքին։ So, and now I want us to remember one more important point. We should remember not to use question order in the reported questions. This is how we should do this. How much is the rent on your flat? He said. As you can see, the question word is the first one, then comes the predicate, and then the subject. Remember this succession. Now let's see how we have converted the sentence into indirect. So he asked me how much the rent on my flat was. As you can see, the first one is the question word, then comes the subject, and then comes the predicate. So we should keep the following succession while converting the special questions from direct speech to indirect speech. Now let's go on. Reported request. In this case, we have to do the following changes. So, could you pass the salt, please? Mother asked me to pass the salt. We need to add particle to before the verb in the requests. One more example. Please don't be late, she said. She asked me not to be late. Don't to changes into not to in the case of request. Let's go on. In the case of orders, we have to keep in mind the same principle. Don't smoke anymore, father said. Father told me not to smoke anymore. This is a reported order, and we make the following change, not to smoke. One more example. Put your clothes in the wardrobe, she said. She told me to put my clothes in the wardrobe. Again, we have to before the verb. And for now, let's sum up the lesson. So, today we have learned to convert reported questions, orders, requests to indirect speech, and we had some practice activity. The lesson has come to its end. Goodbye.